I traveled to a foreign country to get pregnant by a complete stranger with no strings attached. I consider it the best decision I ever made.
Honestly, this is something I would do.
It is. 7 years ago, when I was 24 years old, I decided I wanted to have a child while I was still relatively young and energetic. I had a college degree, made $90,000 a year as a marketing analyst, and had been investing in the stock market since high school, so I knew I could afford to take care of my kid. The problem was that I didn't really want to be with a guy. I'd tried the dating thing, but nothing clicked, and besides, I was always too busy to invest in a relationship. At the same time, I wanted a child, someone I would love forever and who would love me forever, and I didn't want to wait until my biological clock started ticking alarmingly. I considered going to a sperm bank. I could afford it, but I've always hated medical environments and thought it would be creepy to have a child with a faceless man. I thought about getting naturally inseminated by a guy I met online, but I didn't want to deal with child custody issues. Finally, I decided that since I'd already planned a 3-week working vacation to a foreign country, I won't say which one for privacy reasons, I might as well try to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Long story short, after asking around and paying some people, I found this guy who was willing to sleep with me every night for 3 weeks. Since this country has a low cost of living, he was willing to, quote, do the deed for a few $100s. He spoke okay English and wore a white button-down shirt, so I think he was a college student who wanted some extra spending money. I didn't really expect it to work, but 2 weeks after I got back, I missed my period and discovered that I was pregnant. Yay. Your face. The rest of my pregnancy went really well. My mom was a little shocked at first, but she moved in with me after she got used to the idea of becoming a grandma before the age of 50. My dad ditched my mom when I was a baby, so fuck him. I switched to working from home 6 months into my pregnancy and was even promoted a few months after I gave birth. Having a marketable, pun intended, degree is a great investment, kids. My son is now 6 years old and the happiest little boy I know. He has a mother and a grandmother who love him to pieces and can give him a good life. When COVID hit and his school went remote, my mom was able to make sure he kept up with his learning. Support systems are so important, everyone. Sometimes you shouldn't be afraid to take the road less traveled. I'm over 30 and haven't met any guy that I want to date, much less settle down with, but I have a son who I'll love forever and who will forever love me. I'm even thinking of going back to that country to give him a sibling. Everyone still thinks that I got knocked up by accident, a youthful mistake while on vacation type of deal. Only I know the truth. My son is not some unfortunate mistake. He's a deliberate miracle. So many of my female friends are hitting their 30s and scrambling to find a guy and or get pregnant, but I've been coasting along happy as a clam.
What was her question?
Am I the asshole for kicking my son's girlfriend out of our house? My husband, 58 male, and I, 56 female, recently met my son's, 24 male, girlfriend for the first time. He's been crazy about her. Apparently, they've been dating for a year before he decided to have us meet her officially. What he's told us about her all seems great. She's just got her degree, was enjoying her job, family-oriented, etc. I'm honestly just glad he's happy with her. My husband and I don't think he's ever been this into someone before, so I feel pretty bad about what I did. Last weekend, he brought her over for dinner. By now, we'd been anticipating meeting her with how much our son has been gushing about her, how perfect she is, that she's the one, in his words. They ring the doorbell. We open the door. She looks exactly like her pictures, which is a great start. My son is grinning ear to ear. Another great start. We invite them in. She accepts my hug and a firm handshake from my husband, and then she opens her mouth. Quote, I'm the one your son puts his in.
That's crazy.
To be frank, I was appalled. I expected my husband to laugh. Both he and my son are jokesters, and as annoying as it can be, I love it. But this was just too much for me. Maybe I'm reserved, but of all the things she could have shared about my son, she told us that one look at my face and my husband knew how much I disapproved. Maybe I let my expectations get too high and it's unfair to have them, but I reiterate, of all the things to say to her boyfriend's parents, whom she'd never met, she chose that. My son was amused at first, but when he noticed my reaction, his face dropped. I felt like he'd sold me the full package, everything he'd always been looking for in a girlfriend. I was too disturbed by the visual it put in my head, and it translated into anger. I told her to get out, and I wanted to say more about how gross it made me feel, but I fortunately left it at that. My son didn't want to go, insisting I give her another chance, but I was too fed up and uncomfortable by this point. Even my husband, who's enjoyed his fair share of raunchy jokes, wouldn't let it up. They left, and I immediately felt guilty. This was something my son had really looked forward to, and I felt like I took it away over a dumb joke. I tried calling to apologize, but he hasn't responded. My husband thinks she's the one who should apologize. I'm considering giving her another chance, but before I do, was I the asshole?
Talking about your boyfriend's in front of his mom is OD, I'm not gonna lie. And I'm a raunchy, disgusting person. I love a gross joke, but I've never said nothing like that. I'm like, on the first meet, you gotta be on your P's and fucking Q's.
Yeah.
The first family dinner, you gotta be Anne Hathaway. You gotta walk in, poised, composed, and then once you get comfortable with the family, you can obviously start making jokes and like being cool. But for that to be the first thing you said to his mom, that is actually insanity.
It's a little weird.
Like, we gotta start playing the role a little bit better here, guys.
A little disrespectful. And
yeah.
they're all adults, so it's a fine line to walk with in-laws as like adults and not dating in high school where it's like you're both adults, like you're on the same playing field, but at the same time, like that's still his mom.
That's still his mom. There's still a level of respect that you have to have.
Exactly. Would I be the asshole if I told my friend's daughter that her mom led a cult? One of my male closest friends, female, Beth, died 20 plus years ago due to illness. We met through work and I became extremely close to both her and her husband, Ted, much younger, closer to my age. I was one of a group of friends that formed a close-knit group of men devoted to Beth. She had very strict rules about what was or wasn't acceptable behavior in order to be in her inner circle, and Ted often referred to her as a priestess. FYI, it was a gradual progression, which made it seem normal. I didn't fully realize it at the time, but I think I had suspicions that it was a cult, which I now know it was. Beth had a daughter, Meg, 20, from a previous marriage who did not live at home and was not privy to the nature of the relationships we had with her mother, which were intimate and all Meg saw was the adoration and attention we gave her mom, especially Ted, who doted on her. Her bio dad was in the picture, but he was pretty clueless as to what was going on. I maintained a friendship with Meg after Beth's passing, but everyone else in the group went no contact with her, as well as each other, including Ted, and she still has no idea why. Meg is now in her 40s, very, very single. She has told me that she would like a relationship like the one her mom and Ted had, but I also know that Meg has absolutely no idea what was going on. Part of me feels guilty for not saying anything so that she can try to get a healthy perspective on relationships and understand why everyone went no contact with her. I am concerned that by doing that, it will taint the memory she has of her mother. They were close. I also know that Beth did not want her to know, so I would feel guilty about betraying her. This has been haunting me for a very long time. Or after all these years, should I just let sleeping dogs lie?
So Beth passed away and he wants to know whether he should tell her daughter.
Meg.
Whoa. Oh my God. Pop off, female cult leader.
Yeah. Priestess.
You don't see it every day.
It's giving priestess. I think my personal, this is not the answer to the question, is this a cult or not? But my answer to the question, the OP was posting is that I think he should tell her because the mom has already passed. So like it can only taint her opinion of her so much. But I think more so like her relationships with people who like left her life and like stopped talking to her. That's like super hurtful. And I would want to know why someone did that.
Yeah.
I agree. I also think like it can be, sometimes people will ask us, like, how do I talk to a loved one who's involved with or connected to a group that I think is a cult? And one approach is to actually avoid using the word cult because that can really shut people down or make people get defensive. And so I'm sure there's a way to talk about those sketchy power dynamics that she created without placing too many charged labels on it.
I actually really like that. I think people would immediately get defensive and be like, my mom wasn't a cult leader.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But rather describing the situation of like, yeah, she had, 6 guys doting on just her. There was kind of this power imbalance, power dynamic that, your mom had with all of us.
Yeah.
And I think after she passed, people just didn't know what to do based on that trauma they endured. And so cutting you off was the next step for them. There is this crazy one that popped up recently, but the guy had a very concerning post that was also on his account from 3 years ago. So the OG one is from 3 years ago. It is titled, Am I the asshole for getting mad at my girlfriend for wearing mismatched socks? I've been dating G for 5 years and was considering proposing until this. G has always wore mismatched socks, not just 2 different colors, but pattern ones too. When we were younger, I thought it was adorable. As we're getting older and furthering our careers, I find it unprofessional and immature. And it's a little mood killing because it's not very when that time comes. I've had multiple discussions with her about it up until now, and she's always brushed it off. She doesn't think it's a big deal. I'm a little less bothered with this at home, except for when we're getting down, but the last straw was when we went to visit my parents when stay at home was lifted in our state. My brother and his wife were there with their younger daughter. She had mismatched socks on too, and I pointed it out to G. G said she didn't mind matching with my niece and that it didn't mean anything about maturity because they're just socks. To me, it proves she's acting like a literal child. I just don't understand what's the problem with wearing normal, matching plain socks. When she was at work, I got rid of all of the patterned and colored socks and replaced them with all black socks. I thought she would be excited to get new socks. She blew up at me, accused me of being the immature one, accused me of needing to feel in control, etc. I just wanted her to dress like an adult and told her I don't want to marry an overgrown child. She's been staying with her sister since and won't speak to me until I understand. Am I the asshole for replacing her socks? They're just socks.
If they're just socks, why are you risking your whole marriage for it?
Get over yourself. Okay, so let's get to the one that really was just like...
This is the update.
Okay, so it was posted 2 months ago. So they've been together for about 2 years, 8 months since the sock debacle. Am I the asshole for not shaving my pregnant wife and not giving her a spa day?
So now they're married.
They pulled the trigger, unfortunately. Hello all. A couple of years back, I was seeking insight about my then girlfriend's mismatched socks. Comments were vicious, but useful.
Bitches, but useful.
She did not leave me as some hoped, and we are married. The situation today. My wife, Gia, is heavily pregnant with our first. It's been tough on her, and I've tried to be as accommodating as possible until I can take leave and help her out full time until the baby is here. Gia has not been able to shave her intimate areas recently. As such, she asked me to do it for her. I told her no, and it escalated into a massive fight. It just grosses me out. I go down on her and everything. That's not what grosses me out. The idea of having to shave long pubic hairs simply puts me off. I know she feels
This fucking guy, I swear to God.
I know she feels better about herself when she shaves, and I know she's going through something I'll never understand, but it's not an absolute necessity to be shaved. I just don't want to, and I wouldn't expect or want her to do it for me either. When she finally relented and started being less emotional, she floated the idea of me paying for a spa day and she could get waxed. Again, I told her no, and we had another fight.
This is your pregnant wife that is asking for help. She's not being emotional.
I'm well off, so she does not work and I supply her needs. Then pay for the spa day, motherfucker. She asked why she should have to use her allowance. She has personal, savings, household, and baby. And why can't I just do this one thing for her? I told her there's literally no reason to.
He's so controlling.
She has plenty of money from me. She said my options were to pay for the spa day or shave her. I laughed in her face and walked away, saying neither. Since this all went down on Sunday, I've been getting texts about how fucked up it is that I won't help my pregnant wife. She's just acting spoiled and ignoring boundaries and being overly emotional. I'm not refusing to help her. I've been doing nothing but helping her, even after I work all day. We have a housekeeper right now, so she really isn't expected to do anything, and it's beyond me why I should have to give her more money on top of the $8K I just gave her. Am I really the asshole in this situation because I don't want to shave her and don't want to give her more money? I do think he sucks, but $8K is a pretty nice allowance.
But I do think if you're gonna pay for your lady, you cannot be a stickler with it. You can't be like, well, I have an allowance here and the baby. It's like either you're providing for her or you're not.
Yeah.
Because then you start being like, I'll take this away. You can only get this much. And it sounds like she's kidnapped.
Am I the asshole for covering up cameras in the living room, bedroom, and bathroom in my husband's family's home? I recently got married, and we've recently moved into my husband's family's home. It's a big house on a farm in the middle of nowhere. It's beautiful, but slightly creepy because of how old and run down and secluded it is. The people who live in this house are myself, female 24, my husband John, male 37.
That age gap is a little.
I don't like that.
I don't like that age gap at all.
My brother-in-law, male 38, and his wife, female 25. I'm scared.
Wait, 38 and 25 and 37 and 24 runs in the family.
Same age gap. My other brothers-in-law, male 42 and male 26, and my father-in-law, male 60. I'm a stay-at-home wife, hopefully mother soon. We're trying. And my sister-in-law and I are responsible for the house while the guys work on the farm. It's a very traditional family, something I wasn't quite used to. Within a few days, I noticed that the house, including our bedroom, living room, and bathroom, had cameras installed. It made me extremely uncomfortable, and I confronted my husband about this. He told me it's for safety and not to worry about it. I questioned cameras in the bathroom, and he said those were just fakes and to drop the subject.
Uh-oh.
I did because his tone told me he didn't want to discuss it any further, but the cameras kept bugging me, and after a few days, I covered them up. I felt weird being under constant camera presences. When my husband got home, he asked me to come to our bedroom, and he was furious. He started shouting at me that I had no right to change anything in his family's home. He said he already told me to ignore the cameras. I questioned the cameras again and explained how they made me feel, but he asked me if I didn't trust him. I said that I trusted him. He asked if I trusted his family. I said that I did. Then he said, see, there's no problem then. Only family has access to these cameras. I tried telling him that it wasn't better, but he told me to not touch the cameras again and to stop being a problem.
Uh-oh.
The next morning, no one would talk to me, including my sister-in-law. When we were alone, she told me to stop making a mess and that she can't talk to me as that's punishment for being disrespectful. She told me to stop being an asshole and listen to John and not get her involved in my marital problems. I don't think I was being an asshole. I only tried to express my feelings and that this made me feel uncomfortable. But everyone in the house thinks I'm in the wrong and I'm confused. Am I really the asshole for covering up the cameras?
Girl, get the fuck out of that house.
Run
now.
Run.
Get the fuck out of the house. First of all, how are you even convinced to move to a farm in the middle of nowhere? Also, if y'all in the middle of nowhere and it's super secluded, why are there cameras at all? And then also, there's too many men in that house.
It's all dudes.
It's all dudes and your sister-in-law. Clearly, your sister-in-law, she's behind any lines. Like, you still got a chance to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
They're doing some weird stuff in the house.
What are they doing with that footage? Also, if the camera in the bathroom was fake, why are you mad I'm covering it up?
Why is there a camera in the bathroom, period? First of all, if all of y'all are related and all of y'all are family besides the two wives, why would there need to be cameras at all? They're fucking doing some freaky shit with the footage, looking at the wives and doing some fucking weird shit.
Selling it online. Am I in a cult/high control group? I would like your perspective. I'm going to list a few laws of the group I'm in, and I'd like feedback on if it sounds cultish, high control, or not. 1. No sex before marriage. I think this is a pretty normal for most religions, but if it's found out that you've broken this rule and you confess, you will be put out for a certain amount of time, and you aren't allowed to speak to anyone in, quote, good standing.
Silencing rules, classical red flag.
Number 2, not allowed to get a nose/face piercing. If I do, I will be shamed and asked to take it out. Number 3, I'm not supposed to paint my nails any color that isn't natural. So I have to do like soft pinks or nude colors. Someone was given gloves to wear on a Sunday because their nails were an inappropriate color. It's also recommended that you not dye your hair unnatural colors. Number 4, no drinking or drugs of any kind, even weed. And if it's found out and you confess to either of these things, you can be put out for a certain amount of time. Number 5, you are supposed to report in every week to let them know if you will or will not be in attendance to meetings. If you will not be in attendance, you're supposed to give a reason why. There are many more things, but based on these things, does it sound like a cult? That's my question. They say that these limitations are to help you basically stay away from sin or stay safe in the world. But as I get older, they feel suppressive.
It sounds like a cult.
Yeah. You know what's wild is that, well, first of all, well done finding the right Reddit thread for us.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous. But I will say there are some of those rules that remind me of rules that existed at the somewhat cult-like media startup where I used to work, like not tying your hair on natural colors because you'll misrepresent the brand, only having your nails painted like chic natural colors. Like we can.
Did your boss also check if you were a virgin?
Yeah, but only on the first day.
Yeah. Let's get in there.
There was no follow-up. But like, I mean, I'm really trying to guess what group it is. I would guess that it's a sort of like Christian youth groupy self-help, like volunteer.
Or like youth group Mormon group?
Maybe.
Like what does because like the thing that caught me was getting put out. Like are they living in the institution and then they like get kicked out?
It sounds outpatient to me.
Oh yeah, like what if it's like a shelter, like a religious shelter? So it's like they have to follow the rules or else they get like put out.
Oh, or maybe it's a recovery group because like recovery spaces
with religious
undertones.
Like
a religiously undertoned, maybe like rehabilitation type group because the recovery space is like prime territory for cults to emerge and marries well with like religious dogma.
Yeah, we did an episode on the cult of
12-step programs.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see that. The language around that is really interesting too, just from friends that have become sober and like have used the 12-step program. They're like, I had to transition because that in itself was almost triggering that, the language they use. But
dude, the whole idea for my book was because one of my best friends started going AA and started speaking in this register that felt like full of cliches, and it was obviously building solidarity for her and helping her stay sober, but it sounded undeniably cult-like.